Welcome to the program. It's a public holiday here in Nigeria, so it's a very special edition of Your Business Morning, looking at Nigeria's search for CEO, the decision for February 2019. Of course, some of the political parties and aspirants have released a few of their policy documents, but today we started to interrogate some of these economic policy agenda that focuses on insecurity, infrastructure, rule of law, poverty alleviation, the broad economic headlines, and everything that's in between. As we said at the beginning of the program, we're not interrogating the characters or the presence of any of these candidates. We're interrogating these documents that have been released. On Sunday, the Nigerian government, or the President Buhari to be more precise, released a 28-page document, while on Monday, Atiku Abubakar, on the platform of the PDP, revealed a 63-page document, what he called Get Nigeria Working Again. The current administration released what we call the next level, where we are headed. So with Tilewa Adebajo, who is the economist and policy analyst and the CEO of CFG Advisory, we're taking this conversation right now, and we have a lot more to do in the days, weeks, and the next few months until the election day. And of course, it's going to be the morning after whatever happened in February. Tilewa, thank you very much for still being here. Let's take this let's read the economic tea leaves beyond and the scorecard of the Buhari's administration. This is the 28-page document, which was released. It's called The Next Level, a scorecard of the Buhari's administration. So first, it was very simple. Where we are and where we are headed. So they make it a little bit relatively simple, and we're going to put this through to our viewers to also take a look at. You can join the conversation at Channels TV, on Twitter, or at Beast Morning, or at B. Bolson. Let's get to this going. So what's the scorecard of the administration has been put to us a few days ago, 3 days ago, precisely?
Okay, well, first of all, I think what this administration, obviously, they're the incumbent administration, and most importantly, they are defending their records of what they have been able to accomplish.
They're the title holder.
Yes. So they're the current champion. Yes.
Yeah, the current champion. Yes.
So the contender is coming on the offensive, and the current champion is going on the defensive, saying that I want to defend my record. This is what I've done in the last 3 years. So what have they told us? They've told us about the economy. They focused on social investments, corruption, infrastructure, security, and agriculture. And basically what they've tried to do is to tell us, what they have done. It's very heavy in the beginning on the fact that these are the accomplishments they've made in infrastructure, in agriculture, in rail, in boosting the economy. What is also important, I think, is to look at the economic recovery growth plan and how that fits into this document. Because again, let us take a look at the issues in Nigeria today. Unemployment at youth level is about 35%. General unemployment is 20%. Major problem, we are not growing our economy. We have fiscal problems, and we have major fiscal deficits. And we have challenges, trying to finance the government. And despite a lot of the stimulus that this government has tried to put into place, the economy might be heading into recession. So how do they stem that, and how do they rejig the economic recovery growth plan? So quite interesting what has been their successes. And I think one of the key areas they've tried to focus on their successes.
I respectfully cut in here. Do we need to contextualize where the economy was before the current administration took over? Because it was here. It was a headline, where we were, which was the past,
yes.
Then where we are, yes. Then where we're headed.
Yes. I think it's important because, you see, what tends to happen in Nigeria is people try to take responsibility for their own time and what I got and what I didn't get. But I think, again, there's a disconnect there because this is the reality we're facing now. How are you addressing those issues, and how have you managed the economy in the last 3 years? But the numbers on the economy, unfortunately for this government, does not look very good because the economic numbers, we've entered into a recession, there's been significant devaluation, there's inflation, and of course, coupled with the security challenges. And I think with the problems of the internally displaced people who were productive Nigerians who were contributing to the bread basket. So the security problem actually, did not help food inflation. But despite all this, I think they've come up with some very novel plans. And I think one of the key takes that we see here is the fact that economic diversity, their program with rice. If you take a look at the Kebbi state model, I think looking at the sort of leadership you have in the state of Kebbi and the way they've been able to use the Anchor Borrower Scheme to be able to look at production of rice and to be able to get significant investment in rice mills in that area. So one of the key thrusts of this government, which needs to be articulated, is the fact that they're trying to do the self-sufficiency in rice. Don't forget that a previous administration had done a self-sufficiency with cement, which resulted in Dangote being a billionaire and also now being present in 14 African countries. So at a point we're importing cement, now we're a net exporter of cement, and Dangote is present in 14 countries. So the question of that narrative is that how can you be successful with rice? And unfortunately, the data has not come out yet to be able to back up what they've done. But you can see the Kebbi model that has been quite successful in rice production. So this time of diversifying the economy, and that message is coming out. Social, one of the areas which they've actually also looked at is the social investment. From what we're seeing here, close to 20 billion has over 20 to 25 billion, I don't know the exact amount, but over 25 billion naira has gone into the social investment program, feeding children in schools, which is something that, you know, the quantification of the metrics of that are something that you can benefit in the future. The issues of their trader money, direct intervention, and all those sort of things to be able to create the stimulus to come into the economy. So we need more metrics and articulation of that to see how that is boosting the economy. But I think those are the novel things that they've done. And then, of course, there's now beginning to be more focus on infrastructure. For the first time in a long time, they've spent a lot of money on capital projects. And now we're looking to see how that stimulus will be able to respond in economic numbers. So this is really the areas we've seen. So in agriculture and in social investment, I think that these are flagship programs for this government.
Yes, that's part of the scorecard.
Yes.
So, but again, if you look at the boosting the economy itself, this 28-page document did not give me much details. And that's the truth that anyone there can check through the next level. I didn't see the hardcore numbers that I was looking for, whether in terms of the FDI, the FPI, portfolio investment, and a few other things. They're short on those details, and I didn't find them here. So I find this document a bit more about what we are doing, but a little bit of where we are headed. But again, let's talk about that, the broad economic figures. We're talking about growth, we're talking about debt, we're talking about our GDP, we're talking about inflation, employment, and things. These are the broad pillars of the economy. What do you see, what have you seen in this next level document that points to, look, this is where we're going next?
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the key issues with this administration is that they have silos of very good programs. But in terms of coordinating all these programs together to be able to make that impact on the economy, for instance, the linkage between the Economic Recovery Growth Plan, as you've said, on the economic issue they've had here, they only have one segment on the economy. I think the other document have focused heavily on the economy, the issues, and exactly what they're going to do about it. They have said what they want to do about the economy, how they intend to boost the economy, to use the SMEs as a base to be able to create that stimulus and that boost. So right now, I think this government is in search of growth drivers, in search of stimulus that will be able to convince us that these are the things that we're looking at. So, but they have focused more on agriculture, social investment, and corruption. They've also set out an agenda of what they're trying to do with infrastructure. But as you can see, if you take a look at the unemployment, what they had promised in terms of the jobs they were going to create when they were campaigning and what they actually delivered, there's a shortfall on a lot of these promises. So it will be very difficult for them to include it there, but is be able to sell us a plan as to what are you intending to do given the current situation in Nigeria whereby over 100 million people are in poverty, the trajectory for growth in the economy is negative, unemployment at very high levels, and basically we have some fiscal challenges in terms of 60% of our revenues are going towards servicing debt. So these are very, very difficult questions that need to be addressed. And I think what they need to do now is to be able to put more flesh on this document. Obviously, it's 28 pages. I'm sure they must have a master document that once we begin to engage in this sort of debate, I think what is important is that their economic spokesman now has to come out to be able to articulate those details and those numbers onto a lot of all these projections. Because what we're seeing here probably is an executive summary. And what is more important with all these documents is the fact that both President Buhari and the contender, Vice President Atiku.
One of the contenders.
Yes, the contender and the reigning champion need to come out. President needs to come out to articulate this policy and sell it to Nigerians and let us show the comprehension of these policies, and given the fact that he has the political will to implement what we have on this document, because we have some limitations with the ERGP also. On the other hand, Atiku also has to look at what he has told us. There's still a lot of details that he needs to answer there. 3 million employment every year. How is he going to do that? The United States of America is only creating 100,000 jobs, 150,000 jobs every month. So with this level of the economy, how do you justify the 3 million? You said you're going to create 5,000 roads, 5,000 railways. Where and how? So these are the things that there's still a lot of things that they both need to answer.
In terms of details, as far as the, for example, if we take the infrastructure, the road and rail,
yes,
the next level policy document or Buhari's administration are a lot more specifics.
Exactly. They're focused.
Than Atiku's document. I didn't see those details in Atiku's document at all. He spoke about, yes, we're going to do all of that. But the current administration, this next level document, went into details, naming the roads, the rail lines, where they are, where the next ones will come from.
Exactly.
And that is a lot very comprehensive in terms of looking at it. But again, you come about, how do you finance this? What is going to be, what is the funding model that will, for example, this administration says some of the roads and whatever will be told. We haven't seen much of that happen, maybe because those roads are still under construction. So that most likely will come through or in the second term if they get the ticket next election. So we need a lot more, as you said, a bit more details on that. But let's move on because of time a little bit. If you want to have a few things to say on that, very quickly.
Yes, very quickly, because I think you've hit the right point. I think what President Buhari needs to tell us is the fact that this is his document. This is what he wants to do, and this is how he's going to fund all these projects. And I think that what they've done on infrastructure, because obviously they're an incumbent government, they have current projects going on, what they want to do, they have key significant flagship projects. They've started the Lagos-Ibadan Rail. They're looking to sign off on Mambila, and they're looking to build the second Niger Bridge, and they have committed about $1.5 billion into an infrastructure fund. So they're showing some level of commitment into infrastructure, which is clearly. But the question we need to ask them also is, how are they going to finance this whole projects that they've mentioned here? On the Atiku side, he's saying he's going to finance through infrastructure funding, diversifying the economy, democratizing prosperity, building the savings culture, and budget deficit financing. So I think what our conversation today is going to do is the fact that it's going to spark up another round of modifications to these documents. And we're expecting that these guys should now come back and tell Nigerians where we have found out the gaps in these documents. They need to answer these questions.
Okay. If you look at the PPP, what Atiku said, I think this is coming through about, I think, page 13 of his document, under the PPP for infrastructure, under the growth drivers. The PPP, and this is what Atiku put there, he says, accelerate investment to double our infrastructure stock to approximately 50% of GDP by 2025 and 70% by the year 2020. Power sector reform will be a critical policy priority. No details on that yet. By 2025, Nigeria shall make giant strides in diversifying its resources of power and delivering up to 20,000 megawatts. These are headlines that require further breakdown.
And details. They need to put flesh on the bone.
Yes, we need to put more flesh on the bones. But if we still stick with the Buhari's administration in terms of, very quickly, about 1 minute, in terms of insecurity and how this administration has been able to tackle that. Atiku is not the incumbent, so he's not the one putting the soldiers in the line of fire. So he can stay in the comfort of his office or his home and say, I'm going to do this on insecurity. President Buhari is the CNC right now who is the one who filled the pinch. How much do you think has been achieved and much more do you think will be done in 30 seconds?
Well, I think for me, security is still something. The way I look at security, to be honest with you, is that let us take a look at how security is affecting the business environment. And until, no matter what you say you are doing, as long as the foreign direct investment levels are very low, and we still have an issue with security that is affecting investments, we still have IDPs that are supposed to be normally productive farmers who are still where they are. we have not really resolved these problems.
Okay, we will have a lot more to resolve when we come back after the break. Tilewa Adebajo, the CEO of CFG Advisory. We'll be right back. This is Nigeria Stage for CEO, a special edition of Your Business Morning.